Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. How is everybody doing on this beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Wednesday? Happy Wednesday, happy hump day. Listen, today's conversation is one that I'm really excited about. I am going to be giving you the origin story of her income edit. I've kind of talked about it here and there a little bit, but I really want to get into the nitty gritty of why I created her income edit, why I am here before you so many times a week live and pumping out content on my YouTube channel and on my hello, hello, hello. Thanks for joining. And on my LinkedIn and my Instagram and my Facebook, I really want to get into the why. Why am I here? Why is this so important to me? Why am I always so excited about the content that I'm sharing with you? Because it's not just because I want you to hire me as your coach. Of course, I want you to hire me as your coach, but it really is deeper than that, right? So I want to talk about that. I'm going to talk a little bit about my layoff story. I'm going to talk a lot about her income lab and why it exists. Let's go ahead and just pause for a moment and rewind. My calendar invite, it came on a Wednesday, y'all. It was after years in corporate marketing, communications, and branding. It came after doing work that I was proud of, after earning recognition as one of Colorado's top women in business. It was over a 15-minute Zoom call. It was one income source. It was one decision that was made by somebody else, and it was gone. That income source was just gone all of a sudden, no warning. And in fact, the CEO at the time had been saying how financially secure this company was, right? And here's the thing I want to tell you about that specific moment, because I wasn't in crisis. I was in clarity, because I had been building something on my own for months. I had been doing it on nights. I'd been doing it on weekends. And what I'm about to tell you, I believe that every single woman should be doing. Listen, I had a YouTube channel. I had products. I had a program. I had a business called Her Income Edit that I had been quietly growing for months before I got that calendar invite. And when the meeting came, the thing I stood on, it was the thing that I had built for myself. And that's the whole reason why I am here today. And today I want to give you the full story, not the highlight reel. I want to talk about the real story of how I got here, why I built Her Income Edit, and specifically why Her Income Lab exists. Because I think if you understand where all of this came from, you'll better understand why I believe so deeply in what this company and this workshop is designed to do. So if you are here, let's do a quick tech check. Let me know if you can see me and hear me okay. Drop your city in the comments if you are here with me live today. And I want you to stay with me for this one, because this conversation is personal, and I think it's going to mean something to you too. I think it's going to mean something to you too. My name is Nick Scott, and I'm the founder and CEO of Her Income Edit. We are an online education platform where we help professional women turn their existing skills into coaching income and digital products so you can build multiple streams of income beyond a single paycheck. Welcome back to another episode of Nick at Noon. If you are excellent at what you do, if you are underpaid for what you know, and you're starting to question whether your job is your only option, this is the right place. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and turn your notifications on so you don't miss a beat. And if you haven't done this already, go get your notebook and your pen. Share this episode with your biz bestie and drop your questions and comments in the chat as we go, because I'll be checking periodically to see if any of you are saying anything to me. But before I get too deep into this story, if you haven't heard yet, Her Income Lab registration is open right now and it closes on May 29th. Her Income Lab is a 3-hour live workshop, y'all. And we are going live on May 30th at 9 a.m. sharp Eastern Standard Time. General registration is $147, or you can upgrade to the VIP for $297. And I'll tell you all about it as we go through this episode, because the story of why I built it is what today's conversation is really about. Now, let's get into it. So, many of you may know, or maybe you may not know, but I have been building things online since 2008. 2008. And I want to say that clearly, and I want it to sink in for a second, because 2008 was a long time ago. It feels like a lifetime ago, right? And that is literally almost 2 decades of showing up on the internet, 2 decades of figuring things out, 2 decades of failing publicly, rebuilding, and then rebuilding again, changing my mind, switching directions, rebranding myself, all the things. And I think that timeline matters because I want you to understand that what I'm teaching isn't something that I read about. It's not something that I saw somebody else do. This is something that I've lived. I've lived it repeatedly across every season of my life. The first thing that I built online was a blog that led into a YouTube channel. And before you picture the kind of YouTube channel that exists today, I want you to just take a trip back in time with me. I'm talking about 2008 YouTube. YouTube was literally in its infancy stages. So there was no production value. I don't even know if ring lights, I mean, if they existed, they certainly weren't as popular as they are today. There was definitely no strategy behind what I was doing. It was literally just one Black woman with a camera and something that I wanted to share. I was going through a major personal transition, and I decided to document that publicly because I had a feeling that other women might be going through the same thing. I was in the middle of transitioning my chemically relaxed hair to natural hair. That's where I was back then. And that's what I started this channel on. And if you know anything about that journey, you know that it's not just about hair. Transitioning from relaxed to natural is about identity. Transitioning from coloring your hair to going full gray, it's about identity. It's not about hair. It's about the things that society tells you about your beauty, about your professionalism, about your worth, and deciding to question all the things that these people are telling you, right? And it's a transition that requires community. It requires seeing yourself in someone else who's already done what you're trying to do. And in 2008, that community didn't really exist online. So I started building one. If you've been with me here since 2008 on YouTube, let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat if you are an OG like me. So over the next several years, my YouTube channel grew to nearly 200,000 subscribers. It has dropped quite a bit for a lot of reasons, but at its peak, nearly 200,000 individual people clicked subscribe to watch my videos. And I want to tell you what I know now and understand about what was happening there, because at the time I didn't really have the language for it. Because I truly believed that I was making hair videos. I truly believed that I was doing DIY Wednesdays. I truly believed that I was doing Motivational Minute Mondays. I thought that's all I was doing, but what I was really doing was coaching. I was helping women navigate one of the most confidence shaping transitions in their lives. I was answering questions before people even knew how to ask the question. I was showing what was possible. I was creating the kind of content back then that makes someone feel like, you know what? Nick gets it. She understands. She's been where I am and she came out on the other side. And that's coaching. I just didn't give it that name yet. And I wrote about that at some point. The moment that I realized that what I was doing on YouTube for years was already the thing that I was being called to build a business around. It is on my Medium page if you want to go read about it. So it wasn't hair coaching, right? It was the deeper thing. And the thing underneath the hair journey, the hair journey was just, the top level. The thing that was deeper than that for me, it was helping women recognize that the skills that they've built through their lived experience is valuable. That the thing that you do naturally for other people is the seed of something that you can build a business around. And so eventually I stepped away from the natural hair chapter. And I want to be honest with you about why. Because I think the honest answer is more useful than the polished one. And I have a whole video on demand on my YouTube channel that really goes deep into this. If I don't get into it deep enough here, you can go and check it out. I think it's literally called like Life Update or something, and you can really hear the story behind it if I don't go deep enough here. But I stepped away because I was doing what a lot of high achieving women do when they discover that they're good at something. And if this sounds like you, drop a yes in the chat. When you discover that you're good at something, if you are a high achieving woman, what do? I hustled, I pushed, I created, and I created, and I created until the thing that had started as a gift, it became something that was draining me. Am I the only one like that? I burned that chapter down, not because I wasn't good and not because it wasn't good to me. It was because I didn't know yet how to build sustainably. I hadn't figured out the difference between building with intention and building with urgency. So I closed it and I went back to corporate. And for years, I had a career that I was proud of. I worked in marketing, communications, and branding at a level that required skill and delivered results. I built things, I led campaigns, I managed brands, and I contributed to work that really, truly mattered. And I was good at my job. But the entire time, something was also growing quietly on the side. An idea about what it would look like to take everything that I learned about building community, about coaching women through transitions, and creating income from skills and expertise, and build something around all of it that was sustainable this time. Because the last time it wasn't sustainable. Something that didn't require me to burn myself down to make it work. I also built a public speaking and personal brand coaching business in between all of this. I coached women on video strategy. I coached them on using their voice, and I coached them on how to build brands that convert online. I had clients and I had results. And again, I was already doing the thing. I just needed to find the version of whatever it was that was built right. I want you to type same in the chat if you ever had something you were already doing for people for free, informally, that you hadn't recognized as your expertise yet. Drop same in the chat if that's you. Because this is one of the most common things that I see in women that I work with. They've already been coaching. They just haven't positioned it yet. The same as with me. So let's fast forward from 2008 to 2025. In August of 2025, I very softly and quietly launched Her Income Edit. But it wasn't a side project or just something that I was thinking about. And as soft as that launch was, I launched it as a real business with a real framework, with products and a mission. And I want to just take a moment and tell you what the mission of Her Income Edit is, because I think the mission is important for understanding everything else that came after this, right? So the mission for Her Income Edit is to help professional women build income outside of a single paycheck using the skills they already have. And it's not because I believe careers are bad, because I don't. And it's not because I believe that jobs are the enemy, because they're not. In fact, I believe that your job should be the first investor in your business. This is my mission because one stream of income is vulnerable in a way that a lot of women are starting to feel viscerally. And the most powerful thing that I believe that I can do with everything I've learned is to help women build something of their own before you need it. Before you need it. Hello, 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 Shantae. Thanks so much for joining. Before you need it. So I relaunched my YouTube channel under the Her Income Edit brand earlier this year on February 15th, 2026. And I want to tell you something about that timing because it was intentional. I was still in my corporate job at the time, and I was building what you see today in the margins of an already full life. And I was doing it because I believe deeply, I truly believe deeply and completely that this work matters. I believe that the women that I'm trying to reach need to hear this conversation. And I know that I have the specific experience to have this conversation with you in a way that very, very, very few people can. And then let's move on from February when I relaunched this YouTube channel to March. Literally, like what, 3 weeks later, I got laid off. Out of the blue, it came out of nowhere. And I need to tell you what happened in the 72 hours after I got laid off, because I think it's one of the most important parts of this story, because it's the proof of everything that I teach. So I had the Zoom call, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the moment because that's not the point. The point is what happened after the Zoom call. I gave myself that day, the full day. I didn't immediately pivot into action or announce anything on social media or start building a spreadsheet. That is not what I did. What I did was I let myself feel it because I believe, and I have watched this play out in the women that I coach, that when you skip the emotional processing and you jump straight into problem solving, it shows up later. It shows up in your business. It shows up in your content. It shows up in your energy level. It shows up in the way that you talk about your work. And I wasn't going to let that happen. So I allowed myself to just feel it. So on Thursday, I mapped, not a business plan. I didn't map a projection. I mapped out what I already had. And what I had was this. I had a YouTube channel with an audience that I'd been re-engaging for about 3 weeks when that layoff came. I had Her Income Edit that I started building in August of 2025. And at the time of my layoff, I already had products that had been selling. I already had a framework, and I already started developing the curriculum for Ignite, my signature program. So that was already in development. I decided after the layoff that Nick at Noon would become a thing. If I hadn't have gotten laid off, Nick at Noon wouldn't even be a thing, y'all. So I decided to launch it that following Monday. So that was March 9th, was the very first episode of Nick at Noon. And like I mentioned, I had the Ignite enrollment coming. Initially, the enrollment was supposed to be in May. It was supposed to be now, but I moved that timeline up. I also had 18 years of building things online. I have an advanced degree. I have more than a decade of corporate marketing and branding expertise. I already had results with real women from the coaching work that I've done before. So once I did this inventory, I realized that, you know what, I wasn't starting over. I was starting from something. And before I get into this next part of the story, I see that Shantae had a question. Did your feeling about hair also change when your children became young adults? Did my feelings about hair change when my children? No, I still feel very passionate about hair. Like I said, I go into very deep detail about this transition, this transition from a hair channel into a business channel in the video on my YouTube channel called Life Update, my next chapter. So check that out if you haven't already. And it talks very, very, very personally about where I am and where I'm going. Okay, so next part of the story. This moment of the story, I think this matters most for most of the women that are watching this right now, because I think that this is the moment when you realize that the skills that you've accumulated across your career, they don't disappear when your employment does. Mine didn't. They stay with you, they travel with you. And if you've been building something on your own alongside your job, the way that I was, even if it was quiet, even if it's within the margins, that's something, whatever it is that you're building, it becomes the solid ground that you stand on when everything else in your financial income life shifts. So, like I said a moment ago, I moved the Ignite enrollment date up from May to March. I committed to the Nick at Noon launch because Nick at Noon wasn't even a thing before I got laid off. And I decided that I wasn't going to let this moment become a reason for me to slow down, that this was the moment and the reason for me to go all in. And I want to be very, very, very clear about something. The reason this was possible wasn't because I'm exceptional or because I had some extraordinary plan. The reason that this is possible is that I had been building something outside of my job long enough that when the job was gone, I had something that I could solidly stand on. And that right there is the whole point. That is the entire reason that Her Income Edit exists, because I literally lived the thing that I'm teaching you. I was the woman who had the skills and the platform and the products and the mission. And when that one income source that I treated as my primary safety net, when it was removed, the thing that I had built for myself was already in place. I want you to drop Wednesday in the comments if this is resonating with you, because I need to know who is in this room with me. Now, let me tell you specifically why Her Income Lab exists, because I think the story of why I built this workshop or why I'm building this workshop is the clearest explanation of what it's for. So, when I started coaching women on building income from their skills, the thing that I kept running into is this. The women I was working with were stuck because they weren't stuck because they lacked knowledge. They weren't stuck because they weren't smart enough or prepared enough or experienced enough. They were stuck because the distance between I have skills that I could package and I have an offer that I'm selling, it felt way too big for them. Like there were 50 decisions standing between these two places and no clear path for these women to get through it, right? Questions like, well, what problem do I specifically solve? Who specifically is my ideal client? What is the offer structure that I'm going to be building? How much do I charge? How do I position it so that the right person immediately understands that my offer is for her? And those questions, when you look at them individually, they're very manageable. But when you're sitting by yourself and you're faced with answering all these questions at once, and you don't have anybody there to tell you when you got the answer right, most people, they just don't make a decision. They don't answer any of the questions. They stall, they go back into research and analysis paralysis, then they start to refine their messaging and their target audience and their niche and their offer in their heads or on their notes app or their Google Doc. They do this for months. And the thing is every month that you spend spinning is a month that you're not generating income from what you already know. So I built Her Income Lab because I wanted to be in the room with those women when they make those decisions. So I won't be teaching these women what to decide in this workshop. I'm going to be walking you through the process of deciding and building in real time. We're going to be doing this together so that when you walk out of this workshop, you have something that literally didn't exist when you walked in. I'm talking about taking 3 hours of your time to engage in 3 specific workshop blocks and leave with one big built offer. So I want to break this down. I want to talk about what these 3 blocks look like. I want to talk about what these 3 blocks look like. Somebody said Wednesday. Yes, thank you. Wednesday. This is resonating with you. So let's talk about the 3 blocks. Block 1, we're going to be talking about your ideal client. And I want to tell you why this is where we start, because the order of these 3 blocks is very intentional. So my experience has taught me that most women try to build their offer first and then figure out who it's for later. But what happens with that sequence is that it produces generic offers that don't convert. It produces a whole lot of frustration because you've spent all this time creating this offer, and then when you put it out there, it doesn't convert. And it doesn't convert because no one feels like that offer was made for them specifically. So we start with your person. We get specific enough that when your ideal client reads your offer description, your ideal client feels like you wrote it directly about her. And that level of specificity is what makes offers sell. So block 1 is your ideal client. The second block of this workshop is your offer structure. So this is where we're going to build the container. And this is the promise that you're making. This is the pathway that you're taking your client through to deliver on your promise. We're going to talk about the time frame of your offer, the format of your offer, and the transformation that you provide from the beginning of your client work to the end of your client work. We're not drafting an outline. I'm talking about an offer with a beginning and an end and a clear result in the middle. So that's block number 2. We're going to be doing your offer. Block number 3 is your pricing and your positioning. And this is the block that makes most women nervous. It makes them sweat. It makes them stall. And the truth about it is I completely understand why. There's a lot of psychological triggers and emotional triggers that are associated with pricing. And the truth is, pricing yourself feels very personal, and it feels personal in a way that pricing anything else doesn't. But here's what I have learned working with the women that I have worked with on pricing over and over again. The price you charge is almost never the thing that determines whether or not somebody buys your offer. What truly determines whether or not somebody buys your offer is whether or not they believe in the transformation, and whether or not they believe the transformation that you're providing is real, and whether or not they believe that you're the person that can deliver that transformation. So your price, it just tells your audience whether you believe those things about yourself. Do you believe that you can provide that transformation? Then we're going to price accordingly. So in block 3, we're going to work through pricing together. We're going to practice saying it. We're going to practice not apologizing for it, because saying your price with confidence is a skill, and it's a skill that you can build. So you're going to walk out of her income lab with 6 things. You're going to have a defined ideal client. You're going to have a named offer. You're going to have an offer structure. You're going to have a pricing decision. So you will have made a decision about your price. You're going to have a 1-sentence pitch, and you're going to have forward momentum. And I know that the forward momentum, it sounds a bit abstract, but it's not. Because the absence of a next concrete, clear action after you leave this thing, that is one of the biggest things that keeps women stuck indefinitely, because they don't know what to do next. And when you leave, you have something to act on, and then that thing becomes more tangible. Now, I want to ask you something right now. What would it mean for your life to wake up on May 31st with a coaching offer that is built and ready to sell. Not a coaching offer that's outlined or planned in your notes app. I'm talking about an offer that is built and that you can sell that same week. I really want you to think about that for a second. Because what becomes possible for you? What conversation do you get to have differently? What would it feel like to go back to work on Monday knowing that you have something that you built that you own and it's already in motion? That right there, that is what I'm building this for. Because I was the woman who needed that. And because I know that you might be that woman too. Now, I want to get very specific about who her income lab is for. Because I think specificity here is one of the most respectful things that I can give you in this conversation. So this workshop is for the woman who has been thinking about building a coaching business or an additional income stream, and she hasn't done it yet. Her income lab is for the woman who has real expertise. This is the woman who knows things that other people need to know. And this woman hasn't built a structure around her knowledge or packaged her skills in a way that she can sell. This workshop is specifically for the woman who is still in her job. You are still working a 9-to-5. You still have a day job. This woman is not quitting tomorrow because she doesn't need to quit tomorrow. But she wants to build something alongside her job so that over time, she has options. And those are options that she currently doesn't have. So you don't need to have left your 9-to-5 to come to this workshop. You need to be ready to do the work. And let me tell you something about the specific woman from my personal experience, because I was that woman. I was building on nights. I was building on the weekends. I was wondering if the timing was right, wondering if I had enough to start, wondering if anyone would show up for anything that I was building. And here's what I know now that I couldn't fully see back then. Building your offer, building your business, building your second income stream, that is what creates readiness. So you don't wait until you feel ready. You build until you feel ready. So her income lab is also for the woman who has been to all the workshops, all the master classes, but she left with great notes, but she doesn't have an offer. Like, you took mad notes, right? But what's next? Remember that concrete next step, that sixth thing that you're going to leave with, that momentum. That woman, that is who her income lab is for. This is for the woman who knows intellectually what she should be doing, but she keeps finding herself back at the same wall when she tries to do it alone. Here's the thing. Her income lab is a working session. It is not a lecture. You will be building in the room. And the difference between building in the room with someone walking you through it and then trying to figure it out by yourself, that is not a small thing. It's the difference between having the thing done and not having it done. And I want to be honest about who her income lab isn't for, because I just talked a great deal about who it is for, but I want to spend just a little bit of time talking about who it's not for, because again, clarity about fit, it is a form of respect. And I want to give you that respect. So this workshop is not for the woman who is still deciding whether she wants to build something. So if you are in the maybe someday stage of this isn't the right next step yet. And I do have resources for that. I have a free guide called 101 Coaching Ideas. I have a free email course. I have all this free content on my YouTube channel and my LinkedIn and my Facebook and my Instagram. So if you're still in that maybe someday stage, that is the direction that I would point you to. And then I would invite you to come back when your decision feels more clear. So her income lab is not for the woman who wants to observe. This is a hands-on session, y'all. You will be working, you won't be watching. And this workshop isn't for the woman who is waiting to feel fully qualified before she starts, because that qualifier will never completely and truly arrive. Her Income Lab is a workshop that assumes you have enough to start, because I have never, ever in my life met a woman who has years of experience who didn't already have enough to start. Never. I've never met one. So here's what I want you to take away from today's conversation. My calendar invite, it came on a Wednesday. And what saved me wasn't a safety net from another 9-to-5. It was the thing that I had been building for myself on the side of my 9-to-5. And that thing is Her Income Edit. It was the products, it was the platform, it was the program, it was the mission, all of those things that I had been quietly growing within the margins of my life. And my life, listen, like you, I live a very full life. And the reason that I'm telling you this story is not to position myself, okay? But I do want you to know that you are the woman that I'm building this for. You are the woman that I was before my Zoom call came. And here's the thing about all of this. You already have skills that other people need. You have expertise that hasn't been packaged yet. And your job, as good as it may be, it was never meant to be your only plan. And Her Income Lab is my way of being in the room with you while you build the thing that makes your plan bigger than just your one paycheck. So registration for Her Income Lab closes on May 29th, and we will be meeting on May 30th at 9 a.m. sharp Eastern Standard Time. I'm talking about 3 hours so you can have that one built offer. General registration is $147, or you can upgrade to the VIP experience for $297. The link for Her Income Lab is down in the description, or you can go directly to my website at herincomeedit.com/workshop. And do me a favor, drop lab, L-A-B, in the comments if you are in. I want you to share this video with a woman who has been talking about building the thing for so long that you're like, okay, girl, here's your opportunity. Send this video to her because she needs to hear this story. I want to thank all of you who hopped in and out of this live. Thank you for the love. I see the love. Thank you for the engagement, for the comments. I want to invite you to come back on Friday. Just a quick scheduling update if you didn't catch it on Monday. Nick at Noon is now going live 3 days a week. Nick at Noon. I'm going live now 3 days a week. It used to be Monday through Friday. It is now Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at noon Mountain Time. So if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you do not miss a beat. I am here Monday, Wednesday, Friday at noon Mountain Time. The link for Her Income Lab is down in the description, or you can go to my website at herincomeedit.com/workshop. I hope to see you in the building. Thanks again for joining, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.